men and women who were killed and are memorialised.
Okay.
Although they're buried elsewhere in the cemetery.
Okay.
Jeremy, you want to mention the air raid victims then?
Yes. So we have those air raid victims, the 6 there, are amongst a total of, I think it's over 550 civilian war dead that are actually buried here, and there are 20 in total. Number 20, which is the one we're at there, obviously, is the 6 civilians from that first.
And you'll see the
Blitz
date,
period.
all September 1940, right at the beginning of the Blitz.
So the 7th, obviously, as we said earlier, was the first day, and a couple of days later and the rest of that month. There are also a large number in Camberwell New Cemetery of civilian dead, and other than that, and the plaque we've got, which we'll come to, there was never actually very much memorialising civilians here until relatively recently. Yeah, absolutely.
If you look at some of the names on the screen wall here, there's some very interesting things. We talked about Stubbs being a cook. Well, he wasn't the only one.
Right. Okay.
Army Catering Corps. There, but equally there's a commando, and you'll see that he was killed in the D-Day landings after a week after D-Day. And you'll see some names of ships here, and they're not necessarily actually ships at sea.
Right.
They can often be training ships on land, which may have been bombed. But something as early as 4th of December 39, this probably is a seaman killed at sea on HMS Boadicea there. But there's also Royal Air Force men here, as you can see, an aircraftman there, warrant officer as well. And you remember I talked about the Z batteries, 133 batteries. Lance Bombardier Jones, there he is commemorated on the screen wall as well there. So these are all in alphabetical order, so you have to search around. But also a woman here, Private Jean Winifred Meader of the Auxiliary Territorial Service, and we talked about them in the mixed heavy artillery, heavy anti-aircraft gun units as well.
But I think it's been here, does it say on it what year it was? It's about 10
It's
years
hard
ago.
to read.
It is now, isn't it?
It's about 20 years ago now. This is the one.
Is it as long ago as that? Well, it might be. Anyway, it's been there 10 or 15 or 20 years, something like that.
Okay.
So that was one we unveiled, whichever year it was, just to, and this one is the one we used, why the wreath is there for the Remembrance Sunday commemoration of all the civilians who are, all 500 plus of them are buried in the cemetery. So this is the spot used to commemorate them.
People die, was it free or you had to pay? How did it work if you died in war? Not the soldiers, but civilians.
They were family graves. They were paid for by the families. They
It wasn't
funded by the
okay.
No. So
So you had to pay. Okay.
So if you already had a plot, as we've had some, someone would go into a plot you might already have.
Okay.
Or it would have just been as if they died of natural causes and you died suddenly.
Yeah.
So the total number of war dead, bombing victims in the Second World War who are buried here was 559. It's quite significant. And the only reason we've got this little stone is because, I think as Jeremy mentioned, there was an Australian visitor came to Nunhead and said, where's the civilian war memorial? Because all decent cemeteries have civilian war memorials.
Yeah.
And that was the best that Southwark Council could
do that time.
Yes. He's also Constable of the Tower of London.
Wow.
So that's Sir William Yeoman. The church became redundant in the 60s, and the ground was used for a road widening scheme, and so they were disinterred, and the family arranged. Have you ever heard of the Carl Gom Society, the housing associations in London a lot? They arranged to have Elizabeth and William disinterred and reburied here, but because the only area of ground that was available for burials is in this area, which is they wouldn't allow them to have anything other than a common he enlisted in the army at the age of, in his father's regiment in Barbados when he was 9. And so he served in the British Army for 81 years.
And he was top yeoman at
Top
Tower
yeoman,
London.
yeah.
Okay.
Sergeant Francis Charles William Palmer. He was the son of Francis and Nellie Palmer of Peckham Rye, so a local lad. You can see he served with the Royal Air Force, but he was actually in the Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve.
Right.
That was formed in 1936, when it was clear that the Germans were rearming and that war was likely to be on the horizon.
Yeah.
And so they were to support the Royal Air Force in the event of another war. They had an active reserve, the Royal Auxiliary Air Force, and a non-active reserve, which was the Volunteer Reserve. It's a bit like the Territorial Army equivalent for the RAF. And they recruited civilians from various flying schools run by civilian contractors, and then they were appointed an RAF trained flying instructor as well. And Palmer served with number 21 Operational Training Unit with the RAF in January 1941. And they were based at Morton in Marsh, which is now the head of the fire service college.
Okay.
And they were trained to fly Vickers Wellington bombers.
Right.
That's a Vickers
Yeah,
Wellington.
yeah.
And Palmer was
Was he
a bomb aimer.
bomber? Okay.
Bomb aimer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can see him with the apparatus there looking through,
Right.
which is a bit of a predictor again. So
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the time the
Yeah,
aircraft
yeah.
had gone, the bomb was dropped in the right place. Unfortunately, on the 29th of January 1943, Palmer was, as his aircraft was hit, and he was killed. And that was the day before the first daylight raid on Germany.
Right.
On the 30th of January. He was aged 19.
Right, young man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very young.
yeah.
God
So
bless.
killed on
Yeah.
active service. Now I presume Frederick Hater. And as you can see from the headstone, it reads 33rd Searchlight Regiment, Royal Artillery.
Right.
And it also says lately of County of London Regiment.
Yeah.
CO's county. But it's wrong, and it shows the inconsistencies that the family had of the information of where their loved ones were,
Right.
sometimes with
Yeah.
the actual military records, because he actually served with 332 Battery of the 33rd St Pancras Searchlight Regiment of the Royal Artillery, and that was formerly the 19th Battalion of the County of London Regiment. So it's partly right and partly wrong.
Yeah.
Not entirely accurate. Now, because the Searchlight units, they weren't firing at the enemy aircraft, but they were the ones picking out the
Yeah.
aircraft
Yeah.
and looking to give the gunners light to shoot things down. And this is the sort of searchlight apparatus that Hater would have been operating. This is a mobile searchlight
Right.
unit. This is more of a fixed
Yeah.
light surgeon. Start that again. Searchlight. But of course, once the Luftwaffe got the hang of where these searchlight units were, they sent fighters or lighter bombers to bomb the searchlight areas.
Right.
And so it was decided that these searchlight units should be
Mobilised.
provided
Yeah.
with twin Vickers K machine gun mountings.
Right.
And the first kill by a searchlight unit took place on the night of 15th and 16th of September 1943, when 334 Battery, and Hater was in 332 Battery, shot down a Heinkel HE-111 with Lewis and Vickers guns. Later on they received half-inch Browning machine guns on power mountings, and those guns look like
Yeah.
this. so they're more powerful, more likely to hit something with that. But obviously, unfortunately for Hater, he was in a unit that the Germans managed to hit and knock out, and he was killed on the 7th of October 1943.
Do you know how many people in one unit? Do you know roughly? You reckon about 10?
Well, each unit would have had several searchlights.
Right.
Each searchlight would probably have had about 4 or 5
Blokes,
operatives.
Yeah, okay.
So the answer to your question is I don't know.
Right,
but
okay.
That's a
Yeah.
sort of guesstimate of